we've got a quorum, so why don't we get started? I would like to call to order the Economic Development Commission meeting Wednesday, May 12th, 2021, and it's about 4:18 p.m. and we are doing this via Zoom. And Larry, anything else I need to say since it's a virtual meeting?
You're okay. We'll just have to remember to take roll call whenever we move.
Okay, I'm gonna turn my camera off. All right, I'm freezing up, so so why don't we do a roll call?
Jeff McKim.
Malcolm?
Nope.
Present. Oh, good. Go ahead, Jane.
Oh, sorry. I was doing this for our other meeting a couple hours ago. Jeff McKim.
Present.
Kurt Zorn.
Present.
And Kate Rosenbarger.
Here.
And Vanessa McCleary.
Here.
Hello.
Hello.
Did you get Malcolm?
Yeah, well, Kurt got Malcolm. I'll re-get Malcolm. Malcolm Webb.
Hi, everybody.
Thanks.
All right, and who else do we have with us? I think just for the record, you just introduce yourself quickly.
John's in the Engineering Department.
I don't know what your mom's having a meeting.
Jane Cooper Smith, staff.
Alex Crowley with staff.
Isa Goodman, staff.
Larry Allen from the legal department.
Jeff
Clark
Greiner with the BEDC. Clark Greiner with the BEDC.
Thanks, Clark.
And then I think Jeff Ryan, you were cut off, but that's Jeff Ryan with Real America.
All right. And I see Jennifer from the BEDC too. So that's Jennifer Perez, and yeah, okay, I thought it was Jen. Okay, thanks. All right.
Hello.
We've got a lot of old business to discuss, so let's just skip right over that and get to new business. How's that? That's a little sarcasm. We have no old business. I guess I ought to be formal about this. So we have a proposal for a tax abatement at the retreat at the Switchyard LP. And Jane, I'm going to hand it over to you to sort of give us the background.
Great. And Kaisa, can you give me screen sharing privileges? I'm unable for some reason.
You should be good now.
Okay, great. So this is, can you all see my
Yes.
memo? Okay, so this was included in the packet today, but staff is excited today to bring to you two resolutions in support of a new affordable housing development adjacent to the Switchyard Park, which is only 57 acres. I listed 64 in the memo. Sorry about that. This is for an affordable development that will have 48 units at 80% AMI and below. And then it also features a 16 unit market rate component with 3,000 square feet of commercial retail space. The commercial retail and the market rate units were added at the city's request in order to densify the project and diversify, the property and the residents. So Real America handled this project by creating a separate legal entity to manage the market rate and commercial parts of this project. So today we're considering only the 48 unit affordable part of this development for abatement. So the other component we're discussing to kind of describe and paint a picture of the project, but in terms of the finances, we're really only looking at the 48 affordable units. And I'll just look at the executive summary for a minute. City staff recommend approval of a 10-year graduated tax abatement for Real America LLC in regard to its retreat at Switchyard project to be located at 1730 South Walnut Street. The total gross value of the abatement over 10 years is estimated to be $154,370. This project will increase the availability of affordable housing near Switchyard Park and will contain a mix of 48 affordable and 16 market rate units. Additionally, Retreat at the Switchyard will partner with Stone Belt for dedicated residential and therapeutic space. The development will also have a dedicated commercial space that will serve its residents in the park. Under the criteria endorsed by our Common Council and under Indiana Code 6-1.1, I don't know how to read that properly, 6-1.1 to 12.1, city staff believe that this project is worthy of a tax abatement on the real property improvements. Real America responded to an RFP last November, which was submitted, I think, in December and then reviewed in January by city staff, along with several other developers. We reviewed proposals and interviewed several developers, and pretty enthusiastically endorsed Real America. You know, primarily because of they have a lot of experience in the affordable housing marketplace. They feature prominently community partnerships. They have a willingness to use local contractors when possible. They have a long-term commitment to affordability. And they have a very positive track record in securing low-income housing tax credits. I think that's probably it for the 30,000 foot. Alex, do you want to jump in and talk about
Let me
the math a little more specifically?
Yeah, so just a clarity on the timing, the tax abatement, low-income housing tax abatement application actually was awarded in February. It's a very competitive process. And so, you know, sort of tribute to Real America. I mean, that in itself is quite an achievement, but it further sort of underscores, you know, I think the validity of the choice that the city made at the time to pick them. So that's a very important element of what's going on here. Before I get into the specific economics, let me put a little context around two things. One is the role that the original acquisition of the Night Move site and why we did it, and that this is exactly the outcome that we wanted to see. The site is adjacent to the eastern entrance of the park. It's arguably the most visible site. We wanted to make sure way back when that as Switchyard was starting to take shape, that it provided an opportunity for all types of economics, you know, of income levels to live adjacent to what is, you know, I think universally accepted as a pretty spectacular park. We are trying to signal to the development community that we want good, attractive development, that we want a mix of incomes living near the park. We want to densify the area around the park. And so this is really kind of a premier development in that signaling and for the future of the park. And so we took it very seriously, not only who we thought should do it and also where, but that you know, that the adjacency to the entrance is particularly important because of its accessibility, therefore, to the park. So that's the broad context. Since then, as you probably know, there's been a fair amount of land speculation around the park. There's been an approved development on the west side that you know will be important, which is not involving the city. So there's you know, there's a precedent to this, and there was very much a plan to get us to this point. So the second broad context is, you know, we do look at precedent. We look at how the local support can come into play to fill in gaps for affordable housing complexes. We've had some experience and some success around the city on 9% LIHTC deals and other affordable housing deals. But the support can take a bunch of different forms. It can be a tax abatement like we're proposing today. It can be in the form of land value if we happen to own the land, which we're proposing today as well as part of the context, although it's not, that would be an RDC decision. And then we also have the Housing Development Fund, and we have home dollars and their vouchers. And so there are a variety of different things that come into play. So for us to really normalize our support across a variety of different package types, we do look at what is the cumulative value of what we're putting forward as local support on a per affordable housing unit basis. And we try to set some parameters for ourselves on that, so we're not either under supporting or over supporting. So broadly speaking, what we feel that we're proposing today from a tax abatement perspective, in addition to the significant value of the land that is part of the support package, we feel the tax abatement on a per unit basis and the land value together fall within the parameters that we feel are appropriate and that we're comfortable with, and that our local support, in light of the fact that it's a 9% low income housing tax credit deal, is being leveraged very effectively for outside dollars. So what that translates into here, as you'll see in the chart, is we have, if you can scroll down a little bit, Jane, to the we have a schedule. The schedule is a fairly typical tax abatement schedule, and we feel that it is both from a gross value perspective and a net present value perspective, an appropriate amount of local tax abatement. You'll also note that the developer will be paying taxes to the back, so that it kind of replenishes on the back end, which is good, and that the values of both of those are within the comfort level of what we've done in the past and what we think is appropriate now. The land value, which is outside of our discussion, but you should consider it as part of your decision, the land value was appraised at $975,000. That's an indication of what's happening in the marketplace around Switchyard Park. It's gone up significantly since even when we purchased it. In terms of land value. So, when we looked at a cumulative investment per unit, you can either look at it as, the 975, which is fair because presumably that's what we would be able to sell it for if we just sold it. Or you can look at it as what we put in at the time that we secured the land. And we've done both, and we've detailed both in the letter. But even at the high end of the current appraised value, this thing falls, solidly within the parameters that we have established for ourselves, and that the fact that the land is appraised so high also speaks to its placement in near the park, and it's exactly what we would expect to see. We are especially pleased that we were able to potentially put an affordable housing development in a parcel of land that, frankly, had the city not become involved, would be very difficult to deliver affordability to. So all of that says to us, this seems to be sort of playing out exactly the way we intended it to. We have a great partner, and we can let Jeff speak a little bit about Real America. We feel very confident that this is exactly the best use that we can see for this parcel from a community-wide benefit perspective. And so we would ask you to consider this tax abatement in that context. So Jeff, I don't know, do you want to talk a little bit about Real America?
Sure. So Real America was founded 26 years ago specifically to develop affordable housing. And that's what we've been doing day in and day out. After Rhonda developed her first apartments, she realized, I want to make sure that they're managed correctly. So then she started a management company to make sure that they were managed the way that she wanted them managed. And when she was building, she's like, I want to get them built correctly also. And so she has a general contracting company. And we also have a design company because Rhonda's a control enthusiast, but it's because, that is what has gotten our reputation in Indiana as delivering and managing good, affordable housing throughout the state. And we've been doing it for a quarter century now. A couple of clarifications on this is actually the RFP was December of 2019. We have been working on this for well over a year and a half now. And that's how long these take to get put together for the city to make their selection. And then, putting in the tax credit application takes some time. And then last year with COVID, it got delayed. And then the state takes months to decide. And we finally found out in February this year that we were successful and we're moving ahead on it. We just got our first civil engineering drawings this week. Our architect is getting close to having plans done so we can bring it into the city and start talking about it for what the plans really look like. Our partnership with Stonebell is going to be great. Not only are we providing space within the building for them to serve their clients, we're setting aside 10 units specifically for their clients and having the building that is appropriate for them and for them to help them live independently right next to the beautiful park. I mean, that's talk about a great area for all of our residents to walk to there, and having it in a mixed income building with a commercial piece on the front. So we're very excited about this and very much look forward to putting a shovel in the ground in a few months.
Thanks, Jeff. So do we want to
Go ahead.
open it up for questions?
That's what I was going to ask. If there's any more, if not, we can open it to questions from commission members. Jeff?
Yeah, thanks. Great presentation. Excited about this project. I just had a couple of questions. First of all, are there going to be any differences between units depending on based on the affordability criteria?
Not within the affordable. A 30% and an 80% unit are identical. And they actually, the way that we do that, they float within the building. So if somebody moves into a 30% unit and they get some raises and a promotion and they end up being in a 50 or 70%, they can stay in that same unit. It just means that the next unit that used to be a 70% is then rented as a 30. So I'm glad I don't have to do that. We have our own compliance department that's top notch.
Right.
But no, there's no difference in the affordable units.
Yeah. And isn't that next available thing kind of part of the LIHTC criteria anyway? Isn't that required by?
Yeah.
That's great. And then just in terms of the structure, is there going to be, you create some kind of a LLC where you're the general partner and you'll have a limited equity partner would be the tax syndicate or tax credit syndicate or something like that?
Yes, the affordable apartments will be owned by Retreat at the Switchyard LP. And then we have the general partner is Retreat at the Switchyard GP LLC. And that is owned by Rhonda and Mike Surak, the owners of Real America. And then we will bring in an equity partner that will be, so we'll be the limited partner, or I'm sorry, the general partner and control it. And then we'll bring in an equity partner that will be able to get the tax credits and the depreciation to put in the equity so we can build a very nice building with a very low mortgage to be able to have the affordable rents.
Thank you.
And then just for a little clarification, that's the affordable. Then we have another owner, which is Switchyard MR LLC, and that's the market rate owner. And so they will own the market rate units and the commercial piece. The building would be set up as a condo with those two owners.
That's great. And then actually, this is a question more, I think, for Alex on the abatement schedule. What were I couldn't back into those numbers that you used. What were the assumptions that were used in deriving the amount of tax paid and the tax abated? What AV did you use? And did you just use the rate for Perry Township Incorporated or?
We actually started going down that road, Jeff, and then we did some research, talked to Real America, also talked to a variety of different other players to try to understand, affordable housing tax abatement is kind of funky in that it's dangerous to use a project investment value and then derive down from there. What assumptions have gone into it is a starting point of $600 per unit as a tax liability, as a gross tax liability. It has an accelerated value over time, so it's a 3%. If I'm not mistaken, Jeff, growth rate on that over time, and that's how you generate the annual tax liability from the schedule, and then you apply your percentages against it to abate, and it's just mathematical at that point.
And then you used a 3% discount rate on the net present value?
Yes, that's right.
What that looks like? Okay, thank you.
And the discount rate was on the guidance of the controller's office.
Yeah, I mean, that's a reasonable assumption to use.
I have a question.
Kate, did you have a question?
Yeah. Just looking at the number of units and the percentage of rents, can you just sort of lead us through like how you arrive at how many for each percentage, and then how many 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, 3 bedrooms, and maybe a little bit about do 4 bedrooms just like not something people here want type of thing, or just how do you arrive at all these?
It's a combination of things. For the percentage at 30 and 50% of area median income is, so for the tax credit world, the rules of the game is the qualified allocation plan, the QAP. And we get certain points for having 25% of the units at 30% of area median income and 25 of them at 50% of area median income. And so that's our starting point, because it's all about whoever gets the most points wins. And then after that, it was diversifying it with the 70s and 80s, and to bring in a little bit more income on those. And that is also a product that is just not in the market, because the 70 and 80% units just became available in the tax credit program a couple years ago. And then between the 1, 2s, and 3s, with an internal hallway building like this, we prefer to do 1 and 2 bedroom units. And that is the largest market of renters generally, not talking about student renters, but real people. But then also with our discussions with Stone Belt, they think that it could be a very good thing for their clients to have roommates, and they wanted some 3-bedroom apartments. So that's why we added the 3-bedroom apartments, was listening to our partner. And then it was also just how the building stacked with units. So it goes into that also, just from a architectural standpoint.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, I really had no idea. I guess when I think about 3-bedroom units, I think about families, but I don't know, is that like historically, what do you see for 3-bedroom units?
That is what we normally see, but because of our partnership with Stone Belt and with their clients, we're expecting the 3 bedrooms to be more roommate situations for that versus families. But if there are families, yeah, we're not going to turn them away, and they have an awesome place to play right next door.
Right, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Jeff?
And I apologize if I missed this, but is the property actually going to have an elevator?
Oh, yes, definitely.
It will, okay.
Oh, yeah, that with a combination with a 5-story building, we wouldn't do it anyways. But with the clients of Stone Belt, with the elevator, every unit will be at least visible by them. Some of them are fully accessible. All of them are adaptable.
Okay, that was what I was getting at. Thanks.
Jeff, I noticed with the site plan, you have existing building on one of them. Is that the Meineke car service building?
Let me see when it gets down there, probably.
Just trying to get a sense that that's exactly what I was looking at.
Yep, that's the Meineke building. Yeah, we share an access easement coming here with them, so there's only one curb cut on Walnut, and then from there we'll go off of that to the north, and then they have the southern part.
So what just out of curiosity, what sort of I don't want to use the word barrier, but what type of divider will you have? Because that's a pretty interesting neighbor, let's put it that way.
Because of the shared access, I don't think we will have a barrier, because coming off of that, where it says the 24-foot access easement on there, it needs to be able to service both us and them. And so
I see it now. I'm looking at the smaller print now, so I actually see the easement. So all right, like I said, it's just curiosity. Thanks.
Yeah, this will be, because of the density of this is a very urban type building on here. So just to maximize it, to be able to get the 64 units in there plus the commercial space. So we had to grab the shoehorn on it.
I can also, Kurt, chime in a little bit, which is, I think it's safe to say that over the long term, you look at a building and a business like the Meineke business, and it does beg the question whether or not that is ideally placed for the future of what we want to see in the entire area. And so we have considered that. We've looked at that. We're continuing to look at that, and it's a great placement for the business right now, and that may or may not be the case moving forward for them. So for the time being, the development is working with the lot as it's currently been, defined. What the future holds is a little bit less certain.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. Knowing how markets work, I mean, Meineke may find that it's much more valuable to sell the property than to continue the existing use. Any other questions, comments?
I was just going to ask, sorry, thank you. So 10 units are set aside for Stone Belt. That's what I'm reading in the packet, right? Do you know which ones those are, or is that just going to also be like kind of free flowing as needed type thing?
That will also be free flowing as needed. That because, the Stone Belt thinks that they will have roommate situations, but they also may have where they aren't. Or it could be a family that has a client with Stone Belt that wants it, so we'll see who comes in, but those are set aside. We cannot rent those to other people unless we absolutely cannot fill them with clients of Stone Belt or similar.
Okay, thank you.
I just have a question. When you say similar, are you talking about Life Designs? Would that be someone that could fill that space if Stone Belt didn't have anyone to fill it?
It's people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. We specifically have set aside 10 units for them, and then we're partnering with Stone Belt. But if there was another organization that had clients to refer, then we would certainly take them.
Thank you.
We're doing the same thing in Fishers, and we actually, at that one, we have 4 organizations that will be referring residents.
Other questions, comments? If not, go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead. Go ahead.
This is actually more of a general request that I don't think Alex is going to have off the top of his head right now, but it'd be really useful to see. You mentioned, or I think somebody mentioned at least how successful we were in using the 9% LIHTC credits. It would be interesting to see some data just on how much investment those credits generated over the last couple of years, if you have that data available.
It's usually it's 4 or 5 to 1 from an outside tax credit perspective, right? So for every dollar we put in, we look at $4 or $5 coming in from other tax credit sources, and then of course we've got the development investment, the overall, which includes the mortgage and some of the other investments that are happening. So it's it's really robust, that's why it's been great for Bloomington to be successful. It's a double-edged sword, because the more successful you are, it becomes harder and harder to actually get 9% deals in town. But we will be and continue to pursue them in different census tracts, and we'll try to do as much as we can on that. I can bring you more detailed information if you want.
Oh, and I assume this is a qualified census tract, right? Or
I don't think it is, but for what we do, it does not matter.
Okay, so you wouldn't get a basis boost. I don't remember exactly which cases that applies to.
So if it's in a qualified census tract or a difficult to develop area, then you do get a 30% basis boost. But during the Great Recession, 10 plus years ago, they changed the program because the price of tax credits dropped so much. So now they give the state housing authority the ability to give that boost to any deal that meets certain criteria. So we did get the boost even without being in a qualified census tract.
Okay, so you do have that 30% boost anyway.
Yes, we do. Yep.
Thanks.
It's also opportunity zone. And I think, Jeff, if I'm not mistaken, that's benefited the source of income a little bit.
Oh, a little bit. What we have found, and actually they have taken the opportunity zone points out of the current QAP, because what has been found is that equity investors don't have money that qualifies for opportunity zones. Now, Real America has an opportunity zone fund, so we put some money into it to be able to get those points, which is part of the reason why we got funded. Is we were willing to step up and do that to make sure we got those points.
And I mentioned that because Jeff was part of the crazy 2 months when we were all applying for opportunity zone and stuff. So.
Kate?
Hi. Couple thoughts, questions. How does parking work with, I don't know, affordable units? Does everyone get a spot, or do you pay separately?
The parking will be, it's an open parking lot. So this is a 4/1 design. So we've got parking that's under the building. That's the hashed part that's showing here. And the parking will be free and just open to the residents.
Okay, and I was trying to find the bike racks. I just don't see the number 1. I assume it's in the garage somewhere. Oh, I see. It's right by the elevator.
Yep.
Yes. Okay. Okay. And I just want to say I really appreciate all the amenities that are in this building. So I think that's great. Like a computer, it looks like a computer lab, a common space with a kitchen, raised beds, dog walk area. I think it's really nice that you have all those things in here.
Thank you. We also will have Wi-Fi that will be included in the rent for all of the residents. So they will not have to pay a separate bill for that if they have their own computer, or they can go down and use our computers.
That's really nice. That reminds me too, I was going to ask about utilities. Are those included in rent or separate?
The water, sewer, trash are included, and electric will be sub-metered. So the residents will pay that. But the way that the tax credit program, if you don't know, works, there's a maximum amount that we can charge, and that is for housing cost. So if the amount was, say, $500 is what the maximum, and they have to pay their electric, which averages $50 a month, it means our cash rent that we get from them is $450. So their housing cost will not be over that $500.
Okay, I did not know how that works. So their utilities and rent have to be like under the max or at the max, basically.
Correct. Yep.
Have you thought about including electric, and this isn't expensive, right? Out right out the gate, but like solarizing and then including the electric in the rent?
So solar is extremely expensive. We just did a net zero development similar to your Beeline Flats, I believe. I forget the exact name of yours. And we have one in Lafayette that is net zero, and just that part cost well over $1 million for apartments that are less than half the size. And so it just becomes so expensive to do.
Okay, yeah. I know it's a lot up front. I know that, yeah. Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
This building is being designed to the silver level of National Green Building, so it will have much lower utility bills than what a typical would be.
I saw that with the dual flush toilets, and then I guess I was just like, is that also like Energy Star appliances, stuff like that, or?
Yeah, it's Energy Star appliances. It's better insulation. better sealing when they seal the ducts and the walls, and all of that is all better than what you would get from a typical apartment.
Anything else? If not, Jane, I think we're ready for you to present the resolutions.
All righty. Sorry, I should have I put them at the end of the packet. This is my first new abatement project with the EDC. So when I present the resolutions, do you want me to read through them or just generally introduce?
I think
I personally don't have to have them read.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we generally just give us an overview.
Sure.
Presumably, we've
Okay.
all taken a look at them.
Yeah, great. So resolution 2102 is the establishment of the economic revitalization area, which would apply to the parcels listed here. It's 1.52 acres listed in 2 parcels under the legal description. We have to have the designation of the ERA before we can consider abatement. So there's step 1. And then step 2 is resolution 21-03, which is the recommendation for the abatement as detailed in the included schedule. This is a recommendation to the Common Council, who would actually vote to formally approve the abatement.
Great, thanks, Jane. I'd entertain a motion for resolution 2102.
Move approval of resolution 21-02, designation of an economic revitalization area.
And
I'll
Malcolm
second
Webb
it.
seconds.
I'll second.
Okay, so Vanessa and Malcolm together seconded. How's that? Any discussion of the resolution 2102, the motion? I'm assuming that means no, so we're ready to vote. So Larry, what do we need to do? Do we need to do a roll call because we're on Zoom? Is that right?
Exactly right.
Okay, Jane?
Yep. Jeff McKim,
Yes.
Kate Rosenbarger,
Yes.
Malcolm Webb,
Yes.
Kurt Zorn,
Yes.
and Vanessa McCleary.
Yes.
Great.
Thanks, everyone.
And how about the same thing for resolution 2103?
Move approval of resolution 21-03, recommendation of tax abatement for retreat at Switchyard located at 1730 South Walnut Street.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All right. Hearing none, let's, Jane, you ready to do the honors?
Yep. Jeff McKim,
Yes.
Kate Rosenbarger,
Yes.
Malcolm Webb,
Yes.
Kurt Zorn,
Yes.
and Vanessa McCleary.
Yes.
Fantastic. Jeff, I think we can say that on behalf of the commission, we're pretty impressed by the project you've put forth put in front of us. If I could learn how to talk, it'd be better. So
I appreciate that, and thank you very much. And this summer we'll be having a groundbreaking, and I will get info to you through Alex and John.
great. Guess I should go back and see what's else on the agenda. Okay, I think we're finished with that. So anything for the good of the order?
We do have one more item
Okay, great.
relating to the timing of our annual abatement presentation. Larry, do you want to
Sure.
chime
So
in?
typically that we give our annual tax abatement presentation to the EDC first before it goes to Common Council for you all just to kind of see it and know what's going to happen before council. This year, we did have an applicant file a little bit early, so that crunched our time with the Common Council consideration. They need to consider it before June 10th this year, so we're not going to be able to have a meeting. So we wanted to address this with you all and see how you wanted to handle it. There's there's actually three different ways we can handle it, which we can give you the option for, which is one, we could give the presentation to council if everything looks okay and that the applications are meeting their statement of benefits for the tax abatements. Jane would give the presentation, Jane and Alex would give the presentation to council first and the EDC second. So you'd still get the presentation, it would just come immediately after council's consideration. The second way we could do it is to hold a special meeting so that you get that presentation ahead of time and go ahead and vote on a soft recommendation to council that the statement of benefits meets the criteria. And the third way is we could do it unanimous consent over email via a written resolution or something like that. I think so in the charging ordinances from council, there's no requirement for the EDC to consider these before. We just typically do it because that's how they've asked for tax abatements to be handled. So we've done this annual presentation the same way we typically do tax abatements, but there's no requirement for you all to vote on that before council. The requirement in the code is that the Common Council find that the criteria has been met with the statement of benefits and engage in a process that's no later than 45 days from the receipt of the statement of benefits from the county auditor. So that's kind of what's necessitating our timeline.
What's the preference of the group? I won't be shy to tell you what my preference is. My preference is just to meet on June 9th and not have a special meeting, but I'm more than willing to entertain other recommendations.
I'm good with your proposal.
I am as well.
Me too.
You have my consent as well.
All right. Cooperative group here. It's good.
And of course, if there are any issues, we would bring that to the board's attention ahead of time. So
I figured that would be the case. Jeff, Larry, thanks. Jane, anything else?
Not from me. So we'll see you. I'm not trying to end the meeting. I'm just confirming. We'll see you on June 9th. And at that meeting, we'll represent the annual abatement presentation, which will have already been approved by council. But
Yeah, I think that makes sense since we all have that meeting on our calendars. So
yeah.
The only other question I have for you, Jane, is signatures. You're going to send us something through DocuSign or whatever it is.
Yep.
Whoops.
If that is okay with the group. Otherwise, we can facilitate some in-person signing. But I'm a fan of
I'm fine with
DocuSign.
that.
DocuSign is great.
Great.
Great. That sounds good. Anything else for the good of the order? All right. I appreciate everybody's attendance and attention and approving a good project. So enjoy the rest of the day. It's a great day. Finally, it's warmed up. We can go out without a winter coat on.
Thanks all.
Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
we stand
Thanks.
adjourned. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.